Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Rachel, and this week's YEONNICHAT is about bullying, as you can see from the title. As it is back to school season, I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers making videos regarding bullying and how to deal with it, and I never really thought that I was ever bullied while I was in grade school, but kind of thinking back on it, I realized that I did kind of block out some things from my past that I thought maybe if I brought back up and shared with you guys, I could maybe help you to feel a little more at ease with the whole back to school thing and how to deal with the bullies in your life. So let's just get straight into the video. So the story that I wanted to share with you guys actually happened in 5th grade, and so I had this best friend, we'll say her name is Ellen. And Ellen and I, we were best friends from like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, so a few years. And me being Asian, like Korean, in a predominantly Caucasian school, it was really hard for me to make friends because I didn't know English, I didn't know the culture, and you know, we're all kids, so when something is foreign and new, it's easy for people to judge. So I was very much judged for just the color of my skin or just being me. But this friend Ellen, she was always really just blind to how different I was from her, and we just got along like this as soon as we started talking. And I would go over to her house, she would come over to our house, and our parents would actually mingle, so that gave my parents like a way to get to know the culture as well. And she really made me feel like I wasn't that different from her, and obviously we looked very different, we grew up very differently, but just her parents were so great, she was so great, we were just friends, and that's all that mattered. And then this one friend moved to our school, we'll say her name is Libby. Libby moved to school, and she was like the epitome of the cool girl. I don't know how like in 5th grade like someone can be cool. I was such an awkward potato. I was so like just insecure, shy. I was so like not sure of who I am. But this girl Libby, she just oozed coolness. She was extroverted, outgoing, super friendly, really pretty, like really athletic and artistic, and she was just perfect every way around. She was the new girl, so me just being me, I think it was either in one of her classes or during lunch, I reached out to her and I was like, hey Libby, want to hang out with me and my friend Ellen? Come sit with us during lunch. So the three of us became friends, and somehow, you know, like in middle school or high school, there's all these like cliques and like the cool girls and the lame girls or whatever. Somehow I think it's because of Libby, because she was such a cool girl and everyone wanted to hang out with her. But Libby, Ellen, and I became like the cool girls in 5th grade. So somehow our table became like this like cool girls table, and then like other girls would want to sit with us. And then one day I realized that Libby and Ellen were hanging out a lot without me, and I didn't think of it much at first. I just thought, oh, you know, like maybe they just had something to do and they'll invite me next time. But slowly but surely, Ellen wouldn't hang out with me as much. She wouldn't come over to my place as much or talk to me as much. And even Libby was kind of distancing me from her. And then I saw that the two of them were always hanging out. And then things became a lot more clear at lunchtime, you know, like the hierarchy of the lunch seats. I used to sit right next to Ellen across from Libby. And then all of a sudden, these other girls had taken my seat. I think maybe I was late to lunch one day, but they would always save my seat. But slowly but surely, I would sit right next to Ellen and Libby, and then I would sit like 2 seats down from them, 4 seats down from them, like 8 seats down from them. But by the time I realized this is weird, this is not okay, was when I realized I didn't have a place to sit at lunch anymore. Every time I would just kind of make an excuse, like, oh, I was late, or like, oh, like maybe I'll sit down here this week, not a big deal. But it was when I came to lunch with my school tray, and I would go to that table where I always sat that entire year, and then I just didn't have a seat anymore. And then I remember going up to Ellen and Libby and being like, hey guys, why didn't you save my seat for me? I don't have a place to sit. And I could see in their eyes that they were embarrassed that I was talking to them. They were ashamed. They were like you know, like in the movies they do that thing where they're like, oh god, like why is this girl like talking to me, like why is she here? Like that actually happens. It's like movies are inspired by real things, that they were actually like doing this, and like why is she hearing me? And I just felt devastated. I just felt, I don't know, it's just all these emotions are coming back to me now, these repressed feelings. But And everyone in the cafeteria, they were watching because they knew that Ellen and I were best friends for so long, and then they knew that Libby and Ellen and I, they thought that we were all really good friends, but it was so public that they had ostracized me from their cool girls table. So I just walked out of the cafeteria and I went to a bathroom stall. Yes, I did this. This actually happens. And I ate my lunch in a bathroom stall, crying. Actually, I don't think I was crying. I think I was processing what was happening. So I was just kind of like numb. So I was just like eating my lunch, like, what just happened? And then I think I got home, and then with this like rock in my heart, and then that's when I started crying, being like, how did this happen in the matter of months, where this new girl came into my life and just kind of took away all my friends, took away my best friend, and I suddenly was this stranger to my own friends. I was just sad and downcast. I hated going to school because I didn't have any friends, and everyone just kind of avoided me and they like shunned me away. And then months later, I remember in class, so Libby, Ellen, and I were all in English together, but obviously they sat next to each other and I sat like by myself in the back because I was the girl that no one would talk to. And we were having this spelling test, I remember, and then I went up to hand in my spelling test, and then Libby was in line behind me, and then she like glanced over and like peeked over my shoulders and looked at my test paper, and she was like, "Aw, Rachel, your handwriting got so much better," like in such a condescending way. And I just felt this like this ball of fire, this anger, like, who do you think you are? Like the first time she chooses to acknowledge my existence and talk to me after months of ignoring me and turning my best friend and all of like my class against me, she comes around and comments on how better my handwriting had gotten. I didn't know what to say. I was just so like angry. I was so insulted for some reason, or for all the reasons, I guess, all the reasons of everything that had happened that year. I felt so alone. I felt so ugly. I felt so unwanted, unworthy, like, and I started blaming myself. Like, did I do something wrong? Like, let me like trace back my thoughts and the words I said and how I treated Libby and Ellen and all these people. Like, did I do something wrong? And at the end of the day, I was just blaming myself when I knew that I hadn't done anything wrong. But because these girls had chosen to shun me, turn me away, and deem I wasn't cool enough for them, and just essentially treated me like I was a ghost. Like I said, growing up Asian American, I have dealt with racism and discrimination and being judged and shunned in that way, but I felt like, at least in school with my group of friends, I felt like it was a place of safety for me. When they shunned me and ostracized me, not because of the color of my skin, I don't think it was racism, it was just they didn't think I was cool enough to hang out with them. I think that hurt more, which is like messed up, you know, like racism hurts, like discrimination hurts because I speak a certain language or I look a certain way or the color of my skin. But in my 5th grade mind, it hurt so much more that these friends were shunning me and pushing me away, not because of the color of my skin like people you would usually do, but because they just didn't like me anymore. And the conclusion of that story, so how I was able to go through middle school after all that happened, was when those girls ostracized me and shunned me away. So that entire like 5th grade, like the entirety of the rest of the year was hell. Like I was just alone, crying, wanting to come home early, wanting to not go to school. But I held it in. I did not like confront anyone as maybe I should have, but I was too scared. And it became 6th grade, and then I just entered school with the mindset that I would make new friends. Like there are so many people there and it's a whole new year, and I really believed that if I just keep being myself, as awkward and potato-like as I was, because I knew I didn't do anything wrong, then I can't go on the rest of middle school not having any friends, you know? So I remember the first day of school of 6th grade, so a year had passed since all that had happened. I saw Ellen and Libby and all those like the new like popular girls with them. Like, you know, they sat at their table and I like walked past them and they stared at me, but I didn't even look at them. And then I went to like another table full of another group of girls. I just asked, hey, can I sit with you guys? At first it was a little awkward because they know like I'm not in their friend group, you know, it's so like cliques are so important in middle school, but they were really kind and they let me sit with them. And those were the best friends that I kept with me until the end of middle school and actually moved away from that district because of my dad's job. That friendship with those girls lasted for 3 years, for the rest of middle school, and it was, I think, the best thing to have happened. The new friends saw me, for my heart, and what I can bring into a friendship and into a relationship with them, and they were super accepting and loving. So it was a happy ending, I guess. And those girls, like Libby and Ellen and those girls, they never like physically bullied me. It was more like ostracizing me and alienating me. It was like a psychological thing. I mean, it was obviously still a big deal for me, but up until the end of middle school when I moved away, they didn't talk to me, they didn't bother me. Frankly, I didn't care anymore. Like, yeah, it hurt at first, because you know, when you're bullied, that like you start thinking like, why? Like, or you know these things happen to other people, but you're like, this actually is happening to me. But over time, I was like, you know what, like, forget them. They're not worth my time. They're not worth me getting upset over them. Like, if they don't appreciate me for who I am, then I'm not gonna like waste my time on them, you know? So they treated me like I was ghost. I treated them like they were ghosts. I did not give a crap about them, and I had such a blast just hanging out, doing the stuff I wanted to do with my new group of friends. I did school musicals, I joined student government, and at the end of middle school when I was moving away, my best friends, they threw this goodbye party for me, and they made me like a Nutella cake, which was freaking amazing. They knew me so well, and everyone just hung out together before I left. And that's why I said in the beginning that I didn't even realize I was bullied and experienced that, because like there's always positives and negatives with any experience, but the connections that I made with my awesome friends in middle school, the memories that we made together, it just really just overpowered any of the negative things that happened. So I only have good memories from middle school, but I thought I would kind of like bring up my like fiasco from 5th grade to, I don't know, maybe reassure you guys, you know, that bullying exists and it sucks, and that feeling of this happens to everyone else. I didn't know it would happen to me. Like, it unfortunately could happen. You know, we live in a society where people love cliques, people love hanging out with certain people over others, and especially middle school, I think people tend to be a little more expressive of that, whether they know it's good or not. So anyone that's watching that has experienced bullying or is experiencing, I just really wanted to make this video to comfort you that I went through it, but being bullied that first year of middle school did not ruin my life. I was able to get the help that I needed from my parents. First of all, I talked to them because I knew if I held it all inside me, it would just hurt, you know? So I shared with my parents what I was going through. I shared with certain teachers that were able to help me, and I really just didn't let what those girls thought of me bother me or like get to me, because it didn't matter at the end of the day. And I made amazing friends that love me for who I am. Don't let what they say to you define who you are, because they don't have the power to do that. And I know it's back to school season, so I'm sure the thought of bullying or certain like rifts that you may have had with friends or bullies in the past could really bother you right now. So just wanted to comfort you. Like I said, I wanted to empower you and encourage you, to let you know that bullying does not define who you are. Whatever happens does not define who you are. You define who you are, and after experiencing things like that, you become so much of a stronger individual. You become so much more resilient to the shit that society makes you go through sometimes, and I promise you it does get better. That's it for this week's Yeonni Chat. By sharing with you my personal story, I hope I was able to encourage you and comfort you a little bit, because things will get better, okay? So yes, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you liked it or if it helped you in any way, and do check out the rest of my videos on my channel. My series called Yeonni Chats is a series of discussions and these kinds of advice, heart-to-heart talks that I like to put out on the internet to encourage you, to help you, to really send positive vibes your way. So do check out my channel and make sure to subscribe, because I do upload every week. And yeah, I think that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!